Tell me your story.
I was this close to dying from a brain abscess that was misdiagnosed.
Good to know people care, though.
For a lot of people, the MRIs are clear.
You said you had a lot to tell.
Oh, yeah.
Someone said,
I thought it was normal to have like seizures by yourself all the time.
You definitely will feel guilt a lot.
I so appreciate you putting this together.
thank you. So, Mark, I don't know Mark. I know the Mark that I know on a daily, which is just Mark that agrees with questions that we all talk about. Show me
Well, I don't
the
know
Mark.
about that.
Tell me about the Mark that I don't know. The
Mark
Mark
that
that
you
was
don't know.
coming up. How'd that go?
Coming up. So the childhood story.
Wherever you want to start.
Well, I don't know. Florida boy, born and raised, um, born in Miami. Can't get more Florida than Miami, right?
Right.
Maybe Key West. Yeah, Toaster would agree with that. Key West is
Yeah.
peak Florida, but I'm close. So, um, yeah, it was great childhood back in the 90s and everything, but school never really worked for me. There was a lot of issues with my peers, a lot of bullying starting all the way back. I mean, the first incident that I remember hearing about that I don't even remember a lot of these things, but it was back in first grade, but I guess I'm jumping around a little bit. But before that, I had the nickname back in preschool, pre-K of the little professor, and I did not realize how appropriate that nickname was until about age 15. Um, there was an incident while I was learning to drive, and I kind of was my mom was in the passenger seat, I was in the driver's seat, and we were going home. There was a pickup truck that was making a turn, and my mom freaked out. It was like I didn't see it. Um, I came back at, in time or whatever. I don't know. I insist that I saw the pickup truck. She insists that I was driving as though it wasn't there. But that led to questions about my brain, I guess. So we, excuse me, we went out and got a whole bunch of tests. There was uh, a quick MRI, there was a 30-minute EEG. I was told to be sleep deprived beforehand. I was, uh, honor system, not to go to bed for 4:30, only get 4 hours of sleep when I came in. Um, the EEG was clear. MRI didn't have any issues. Um, part of it, they did a full neuropsych battery. And that is when I got the autism, Asperger's syndrome diagnosis. Um, but they told me I do not have epilepsy back then, around 15, between 15 to 17. So I was clear. Um, but fast forward a few years, I had some issues, some odd sensations, uh, sense of fear kind of thing, anxiety. But anxiety is normal. I live in a state of anxiety, basically. Um, Social situations were uh, I mean, in childhood, I learned basically social situations were always threatening. My peers um, were basically, uh, something to avoid. The uh, the idea of going and talking and making friends and everything was absolutely terrifying. Um, for really no more reason than um, it had always been met with a sense of kind of this is you are not the same, um, without anything really to um, point at to identify as why. It's just you're not right. Um, uh the gifted program and the neuropsych battery um showed, IQ was a big part of why I was not right, not normal, not normal. Um, but um, yeah, that was kind of just me. I spent my time, drawing, and I shelved books in the library, and I avoided making friends. Uh, and uh, yeah, those weird sensations, they kind of just kept happening for years and years and years. Tingling kind of one side or the other side. Um, but um, the issues at school, I'm realizing I'm kind of jumping around a bit, but um, I guess it doesn't really matter so much. The issues with school, bullying and everything led to it was to the point where I was having um, physiological health problems due to the anxiety and the panic of going to school. Um, I was having sleepwalking issues. I had night terrors. Um, you know, insomnia. Could not fall asleep. Could not. Um, I would um, go and hide in my parents' bedroom because that felt safer than sleeping alone. When I was, back, I think second, third grade. Um, it was just, terrifying being around people and no idea why. No, no rhyme or reason. Um, so the anxiety, the panic that I felt randomly later on in life seemed perfectly natural, perfectly normal. I'm always just a gigantic, um, socially introverted ball of um, panic and anxiety. So um, my parents pulled me out of school when I was about 9 years old, fourth grade. Um, and from fourth grade on, I was homeschooled. And um, that worked out great for me intellectually. My parents, um, they didn't do so structured a um, program as a lot of people tend to picture when they hear homeschooling. I've talked to some people and they're like thinking that there's class time and you sit and that my mom was instructing me. And that really wasn't the case in my situation. I had um, learning materials provided to me, and I had a time that it had to be finished by, and I was left to do it, figure it out. Well, figure it out sounds kind of, but yeah, I had the books, I had the worksheets and everything, and I just um, the learning was never the problem for me. That was not the reason I was failing classes. I was failing school because I was intentionally sabotaging my own schoolwork. I was leaving books and homework behind and hoping that it would get locked in the school after um, the janitor had left so that nobody could get it until the next day and I would get a 0 and stuff. I didn't want to stand out because, I mean, all I had to do was basically listen and then just write down the answers in all of these classes. It was not a challenge. It wasn't rewarding either. So, if I did that, if I just listened and gave the correct answers, I got bullied for being, the smart kid. Oh, he's the nerd. Um, don't want to stand out. Um, so had to figure out how to adjust my grades to kind of end up somewhere in the middle, somewhere that didn't, not the bottom, not the top. So I could just kind of selectively do that. But there were a couple teachers, one in particular, Miss Bates. I was in the advanced reading program. I couldn't fake my high reading ability, you know. So they figured out they knew that I was by all metrics I should have been the absolute top of the class. So Mrs. Bates was um absolutely set on pulling that out of me and would would make me, stand up in front of the class. The absolute last thing that uh 9-year-old me ever wanted to do was to be the center of the class attention, to have all eyes focused on me for my ability to do something that they all found difficult and challenging. Um, the um, so I don't know, I suppose in retrospect, I've realized that it was even the teachers who were bullying me then. It wasn't just the kids. Um, that, that sort of treatment, singling out a student and kind of humiliation, sort of. I mean, I'd end up in tears and crying in front of the class over being asked to just do something and repeat it because I wasn't speaking loud enough, and then do the next one and repeat it until everyone could hear me and stuff. No bueno. So that's what led to the homeschooling, and that was far, far better. I was evaluated, and they gave me materials about 2 or 3 grade levels ahead. And that was a great um uh setup, I guess, for me. The setup isn't the word that I wanted to use, but um so um I'm sorry, I'm uh
Take your time. I understand.
the God damn it, and I don't even have my, oops, hold on. Do you mind if I turn the camera off real quick? I want to check if it stopped raining. I
Go
want
ahead.
to, because I can't smoke in-house. In my parents' house, I got to do it out on the patio, but the rain was loud to hear you over. So I cleaned the water pipe and everything, Bong Ross. So
Bob Ross, yeah.
can you hear me? Is the rain?
Rain is over with.
I mean, it's still happening, but I don't know if it would cause too much white noise in the background to
Oh,
be
no, it's
heard.
okay. I can't hear it.
Okay, cool. So, um, yeah, I forgot where I was again. Um, anyway, I've had one, one really close lifelong friend. When we met at, the community college here. The state of Florida has a program where homeschool children, well, not just homeschool children, but high school children can attend community college and receive, I'm not sure if it's completely free tuition or if it's just a significantly subsidized tuition, but um, um, dual enrollment, basically. I was getting high school homeschool credits for taking college classes at the community college. So I did that for a couple years down in Naples and um, eventually moved up to Orlando. And when we moved up to Orlando, um, the transfer between the community colleges, they said, um, you have like, or so I had twice as many high school credits as were required by the state to receive a high school diploma. So it would be more complicated to dual enroll me than it would just to transfer as a normal student. Um, so my homeschool graduation ceremony was basically just my parents telling me, you're graduated now, at a, at dinner one day before we moved up to Orlando. But it just so happened that first semester, just like a couple weeks after we moved here, that uh the I forget, I was enrolled in 4 classes, I think, and out of those, no, 5, 4. Anyway, there was one other student who was in 4 of the same classes that I was. And they included Calculus 1, English Composition 2, and a painting course, like an art painting course. So he said, he stopped me in the hall and, it's like, hey, turned around, like, what? And he was like, you and I had 4 of the same classes together. And he just looked at him and said, okay. So he had to spell out, we should study together. Like, oh, okay. But it never even occurred to me to like look around at fellow students and stuff, see if there's any of them in common. but he kind of instilled some better studying habits in me. So that when I finally got to the point in college where I could no longer just sit and listen and then pass the class, I actually had to start studying and working at problems afterwards. I actually finally had the discipline to do that. But that was again right around those times that those tingles first started appearing, and I kind of just thought that they were normal. The um, the uh, yeah, so I don't know. Oh man, I just realized I completely glossed over the whole heart condition thing in the middle of that too, didn't I?
Yeah, we didn't go into the art.
In the lead up to the homeschooling, when I was still third grade, fourth grade, I started getting these episodes where I just like could not do anything. I felt in my chest like this fluttering, right where my heart was. This heart rate was so fast that it didn't feel like it was pumping any blood anymore. I'd get really lightheaded. I was lucky I didn't lose consciousness at all. But in that environment at school with all of the kids around me, with the teacher that, one of the teachers that was not particularly friendly. I don't think I ever would have said anything. I never would have mentioned what was happening. I would get heart rate of up to around 300 beats per minute, which some people have thought I was making up the time. I have an EKG to prove it. I could go pull it out if you want to see it, but I mean
That'd be dope.
the heart rate looks like a seismograph from San Andreas fault. It's just boop, 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 boop. Every single cardiologist that I've been to, we bring that, we pull it out, and they're like, "Oh wow," and they just look and have to try to count, figure it out. So, yeah, that was. I would never have mentioned that if it were happening and I had not been pulled out of school. That would have drawn so much attention, you know, to be the kid with the, heart something, but it would start and then it would stop before we could get any sort of recording of it. I mean, it's a lot like seizures in that way, you want it to happen when you're hooked up, but these things are so intermittent and happen for such a short period of time that, it's unlikely. So, we did a couple of what they call Holter monitor studies, and that was back in like 96, 97. So they were still like these gigantic boxes. They had all these wires hooked up all over my chest at the little snap things and stuff. It was a little magnetic tape recorder thing in the box that was analog recording the heart rate spikes on the little tape. You know, 2 or 3 of those, and it didn't happen, you know, obviously, because why would it? But it came to a point in 1999, we were part of a homeschooling cooperative. So after the whole weekly event thing, all of the kids were out doing whatever, and this one family had a trampoline in their backyard. And I mean, obviously, that's going to be the main attraction, right? 1990s, trampoline, springs all exposed, right? No big netting over
Every
it.
kid wanted a trampoline.
Yeah, man. So we were out on that thing, and one kid, you know, midair collided with me, and that was kind of enough. You know, it was the sort of thing where like a physical impact can cause like a little extra beat or something, and that's just enough to trigger it. So yeah, midair collision that happened, and then I'm sitting on the side of the trampoline, with, you know, such so short of breath that I can't really do anything but just sit there hunched over. I don't know how long it was going on. I think it was maybe a matter of 5 minutes or so. I don't think it could have been more than 10 minutes. If only because I was able to make eye contact with my mom over, you know, across the yard, and she was able to kind of gesture, you know, are you okay? And all I was able to do was shake my head. So she went over and dragged me over into the car, and, you know, was asking, where's the nearest fire department? Because we called 911 in the past several times. I think we have at least 3 ambulance visits at our house leading up to that. And we'd driven over to a local fire department a couple of times to try to get it. And, you know, it always ended before then. So this time though, we managed to get it. I was in the van, and my mom went up to the firehouse, and, you know, pounding, and the EMTs and the firemen come out, just confused because nobody shows up at the firehouse like that with an emergency, right? They go to the place. They don't have the fire come to them, ideally, right?
Right.
It's a, if the fire is coming to the fire station. But yeah, she tells them my son is, you know, we need to come, and we need to hook him up and record this. He's having a heart episode. That's all we knew to call it at that point, heart episode. We suspected it was a type of tachycardia, but didn't know what exactly was going on. And when they got out there, you know, they lift up my shirt and they could see my chest fluttering. And just that sight, they freaked out. They're like, oh my God, we need to get him in. They, you know, pulled me out of the van, pulled me into the EMT or into the ambulance. I'm not sure at what point, but they cut my favorite shirt off. It was the, you know, the Far Side comics.
Yeah, they always do that. They get the worst. You get the worst shirt. You gotta go like, damn, like I
But
had
they
a season,
managed-
now I lost my shirt.
They managed to at least like cut around the image, the comic stuff, but Yeah, that was nice, but no, no putting that shirt back together after that. So I still have them too. I have the cut up shirt. It might be interesting to like stretch it out and frame it.
You got a lot of memories. You got the seismograph thing, and then you got the shirt.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. And the neurologists, when they gave me that MRI when I was 15, they gave me a printout of my MRI too. So I got, you know, my brain next to my heart going all haywire, and then the shirt. Yeah, a lot of medical memories around that time. But yeah, they hooked me up to the EKG in the back of the ambulance, and you know, that's when they see 280, 300 beats per minute, and freak out. They see the shape of the wave, and I mean, tachycardia just means fast heart rate. So it's not specific as to what type. So what they saw there was supraventricular tachycardia. So the ventricles are the lower chambers of the heart. So supraventricular means it happens, or it starts above the ventricles, and then tachycardia, fast heart rate. So they could see from the EKG that it was, you know, starting above, going down, and the whole thing, the whole heart was basically just and not really ever actually getting anything out. But we finally had it recorded, which was major. So the EMTs are kind of looking at my mom weird because she's outside of the ambulance, like all excited because, you know, we've been trying to get this recorded for years now, and you know, yes, we have it. And they're like, your kid is on the verge of dropping dead at any moment now. But um, yeah, it was just in time, many times that I happened to have that end before dropping dead. Uh, but the the EMTs told my mom, you know, we are going to such and such hospital. We are going full lights, full siren. Do not try to follow us. You know, they needed to get me to the hospital, and we're not stopping for stoplights. So she had to show up like 10, 20 minutes later. But the I remember what they, you know, they put in the IV, and what they gave me is a medication called adenosine, which basically what they did with that medication, it interrupts the electrical pathways in the heart. So they stopped my heart. It's kind of like going haywire so much. They're like, no. And it's like just turn it off and on again, right? Like a computer.
A hard reset.
Yeah, hard reset. They did a hard reset on my heart, and it did the trick. But boy, was that a weird feeling when I mean, it was fluttering and faint and pale and I could hardly move. And then, I feel the fluttering, I don't know, it's like and it like boom, and then boom, and calm for a minute, and then it resumed like a normal heart rhythm, and I felt like this rush up, down, back up to the center when like all of my blood actually finally started circulating again. Um, that was, I'm getting chills just thinking about that, remembering that right now.
Taking you back,
Yeah,
taking you back, huh?
it's yeah. Hold on, I'm gonna. Yeah, so uh, that was October 27th, 1999. And we took that printout of the EKG, and we had moved from Palm Beach area over to Naples, but we were still trying to stay in touch with the same cardiologist that we had been seeing back over in Palm Beach. So it's kind of a weird back and forth situation. But that cardiologist over there, I mean, you know how specialists are where you've got an appointment like months out. So this guy was a 6 months out type of doctor, right? So my mom took that printout and drove over. My dad had been working at a bank at that point. She needed to borrow their fax machine, and I mean, we lived only 5 minutes away. She drove over there and faxed it. And before she had even gotten back to the house, the doctor himself was on the phone. He saw the fax of just that, "Ooh," and it was like, no. So I happened to answer the phone and he was talking to me, asking me some questions about it. But yeah, when my mom got home, he talked to her and immediately said, this is a case beyond the scope of my abilities. You need to go here. So that's when they appointed me to Jackson Memorial Hospital down in Miami, which is the teaching hospital for University of Miami. And so yeah, one of the best.
Yeah, I've
Best,
heard
huh?
that. I've heard.
Yeah, yeah. So yeah, as far as pediatric cardiology, that was the place to be. And my case of the supraventricular tachycardia, when the cardiologist saw it, he was able to tell, even more specific subtype of the supraventricular tachycardia was called Wolff-Parkinson-White syndrome. So Wolff, two Fs, and they said basically it is a situation where the heart has a small bundle of atypical tissue between the upper and lower chambers. So the upper chambers are the atria and the lower chambers are the ventricles. And typically the heart rhythm starts with an electrical pulse from from the brain up, down, and then it gets, the signal goes from the upper chambers down to the lower chambers through a small small, like conductive pathway. For some reason, the term bundle of Kent is coming to mind, but I don't know if that's the name of Kent or if I'm just thinking of something else. And I don't have my phone on me, and just gonna keep going. But so there's that little transmission line. And it's this atypical tissue between the upper and lower chambers, in addition to that official pathway, and that gets the signal from the upper chambers when it passes down to the lower chambers, and can pass it back up to the upper chambers again, which and then goes down to the lower and then up to the upper. And so it kind of, that's how the fast heartbeat got up so high to 300. It was this, signal from the upper to the lower back up. And in addition to still getting the normal signals, and then some of those being sent back up and in that whole thing. So what they were going to do there, oh, wait, no, first I should say the phone call was, just a few days afterwards. So October 27th. On November 4th, I was told that I was scheduled for heart surgery. And that is a scary thing to hear as a 15-year-old. 15,
I
how
would
old?
imagine.
99, 86, 99, 13 years. Oh, yeah. Okay, yeah, that makes sense. I remember that now. I was 13. This was before the other thing.
Your memory is better than mine.
Well, I have some specific anchors with those numbers really
I
help.
understand. I can't remember the years of a lot of events. I can remember a lot of things, but I can't remember the year it happened.
Yeah, I do better when there's some numbers. So I got the dates, the 27th of October in 1999. So plus I get to tell this story whenever I want to impress someone, I mean, so I've had some practice recalling those events, and yet still I'm so scattered. But okay, where was I? So yeah, there was all kinds of chaos there around that, at that point. We had gone over to stay with my grandparents over Palm Beach area, Palm Beach County. And because we wanted to be nearby to the cardiologist that we had been seeing before in case something. So we had, my mom had given a one phone number, one landline for contacting us, and we were staying at a different address. So back in the 90s, that can cause all kinds of confusion. And yeah, the doctors down at Jackson Memorial Hospital, basically they were the ones who took it upon themselves to schedule me for surgery and were freaking out trying to get in touch with my mom to tell me when she needed to have me down in Miami, uh, rather than having her schedule on the appointments like we've normally done. It was something so urgent for them. And a rare case of a condition that they can teach to some new young little cardiologists down there. And on top of that, they were just developing and using the catheters for this particular surgery. So it's sorry, there's a plane going over there.
Can't hear it. Not on my end.
It's kind of throwing me off. Sorry. I should have taken the opportunity to, so you don't know, do. Yes, I was told that I was scheduled for the surgery, the cardiac catheter ablation. Which now, 25 years later, catheters are kind of a standard thing now in a lot of different surgeries. They're with epilepsy, they're used in brain surgery. Get up in there through the blood vessels and stuff, it's like snaking a drain right up into your wherever. So for me, they inserted catheters down in the groin, and ran it up into the heart. And the goal was to trigger an event and locate that abnormal tissue that was allowing the signal to go back up to the upper chambers and basically burn it out with a little electrode at the end of the catheter. So they were successful, but it took all day, basically, and it was not so simple as just go in with the one. I happened to have multiple accessory pathways, which my understanding is that in adult Wolff-Parkinson-White syndrome, when the treatment is provided, it's generally only one pathway that's bound for the most part. So I found years later, just a couple of years later, it was during the pandemic actually, so 2020, I happened to just look up and the case was included. I mean, we signed off on anonymizing and using my medical records for research, because why the hell not, right? But the treatment of Wolff-Parkinson-White syndrome in children, it seems, that they have found with that data set that I was a part of, that children have these additional pathways more than adults do. And another interesting thing that I found in that was that there was that data set from Jackson Memorial Hospital, by the time they wrote the paper, had 318 cases of pediatric Wolff-Parkinson-White syndrome. And, they broke down how many of them had a single pathway, how many of them had two pathways, how many of them had three pathways. One single patient had 4 accessory pathways, and that was this guy. My parents were sitting out in the waiting room, and the overseeing doctor, and then the one who was actually doing the surgery, assuming maybe the one who was being taught, but they both came out and told my parents, oh, we got it. We found the pathway, we burned it out, don't worry. And then they said, we're just gonna go and confirm that we burned everything out, and then, we're good. And then they had to go back and scrub it again, all over, and, went and did it again. We're able to trigger it again, and burned that pathway, and then came back out and told my parents. They were even more excited. Back in and out, in and out. They kept scrubbing in and coming out and telling my parents, oh, we got it, we're done. And then going back in, and every time they were more excited that they found another one. My parents couldn't figure out why. But it was about an 8-hour surgery, and have not had an episode, since then of that condition. But because of that, I do have, a lot of focus with all of my, for instance, all of my epilepsy meds. They're concerned about any sort of cardiac side effects in my condition, in my case. So that's why. And yeah, I don't know, if does anybody else in the group have, has anybody mentioned like heart palpitation side effects or anything?
Someone has. I forgot who it was. Someone has recently, maybe like the last 5 weeks. I don't know if that counts as recently though.
That's enough.
Someone who's come by in the past 5 weeks has said something about the heart thing. And they were talking about certain meds that they couldn't take, I believe. Can't remember who it was. And it was a female also.
Oh, okay. Well, if in the course of your video editing and all that stuff, you happen to find any info about what meds they can't take because of heart issues, I would like it. I'd like to know if you don't mind.
When I find it, I'll let you know.
Cool. Yeah. So.
Can we take a break?
Huh?
Said, can we take a break?
Yeah, I was just gonna suggest to take another rip and maybe go pee real quick before jumping back in.
Please take your medication as prescribed or whatever works for you. We're not doctors.